Hi everyone, number one power metal hater here, the internet's busiest number one power metal hater. And it is time for a review of the brand new power metal album, Gods and Monsters, from German power metal icons and pioneers, Helloween. Fun fact, in case it wasn't already crystal goddamn clear, I'm the number one power metal hater. And that's why I'm giving this new album a 0 out of 5. Fuck you and fuck everything you like. Roll credits, goodbye! Haha, gotcha! I bet you're in the middle of writing an angry, pissy, fuck-ass comment right now. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're better than that. Maybe you're stronger than that. Maybe you have really thick skin. Or you just saw through me completely, and you knew I was bluffing just a little bit. Bravo. Now, longtime, die-hard, dedicated fans, followers, viewers, and subscribers of the Metal Meltdown may already know that I am a very well-documented, not huge fan of power metal. It is my least favorite subgenre of metal music, and thus it is the one we discuss on the Metal Meltdown the least often. However, I will make an exception for bands and albums that I feel are doing something cool and unique and fun. And I will very often especially make an exception for a lot of bands that kind of come out of that, 80s kind of power metal sound and vibe and that first wave of power metal, I guess. I love classic shit from Blind Guardian, Running Wild, Sabotage, Crimson Glory, and I love a lot of heavy metal, power metal kind of stuff that kind of captures that same kind of spirit and vibe like Eternal Champion and Smolder, and I also really like Helloween. Keeper of the Seven Keys Parts 1 and 2 are absolutely timeless, fantastic, well-written, produced, executed by any standard really. They are just excellent albums and some of the best power metal albums ever fucking made. Admittedly, the rest of their discography has been a little bit more hit and miss, partially because of, lineup changes and internal struggles and all this shit over the course of the past, 30, 35 years or so. But, for the most part, more hits overall than outright misses. The debut Walls of Jericho holds up pretty well. I think it's a classic record. I like the more razor-sharp, kind of speed metal, thrash metal kind of underbelly to that record. And stuff like Better Than Raw, Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy, Straight Outta Hell, My God-Given Right. There's some good stuff there. And then there's the self-titled album, released back in 2021, featuring what is now known as the Pumpkins United lineup, featuring Andy Darris, Michael Kiske, and Kai Hansen all sharing lead vocal duties. Wow! Very bold and ambitious, to say the least, because all of these singers represent different eras of Helloween to varying degrees of quality, and on top of that, just on surface level, it does feel a little bit like a gimmick, but fuck it, it's a gimmick that fucking worked. It was unironically a great album, probably one of the best heavy metal, power metal albums of 2021, and minor spoiler alert, it's a gimmick that continues to work on this new album, Gods and Monsters. Is it as big and as triumphant as the self-titled album? No, but I don't think it wants to be, and I also don't think it needs to be. Helloween is very clearly very comfortable and very happy with this lineup, with this phase of their band, and it shows pretty consistently in the quality of the music here. Opening number, Giants on the Run, is a great display as to why I like Helloween and why especially Helloween still works in 2025, because it's a lot of classic 80s heavy metal influence, new wave of British heavy metal influence, mixed in with the grandiosity, the bombast, and even the corniness that is typically expected of power metal, but never to a point where it gets to be overwhelming or laugh out loud ridiculous. The verses here are very moody and do a great job at building and simmering tension with the more kind of quiet, nuanced, kind of Scorpions-esque vocal work and Scorpions-esque kind of guitar chords and tones before launching into more Judas Priest style, rampaging, Defenders of the Faith style heavy metal. And as the track goes on, we get more soaring, shredding vocal hooks and guitar pyrotechnics, more pounding, stomping riffs and rhythms and drums. I like this kind of section of epic, cinematic power metal bombast that is a little bit self-aware, tongue-in-cheek in a kind of looking into the camera and giving you a wink kind of way. But they do it without, like, diluting or downplaying anything that they're already doing. Like, when they shout out in unison, "We are giants! On the run!" with these big, like, anthemic arena rock fucking drums and shit. You can tell they're having fun. They're having a bit of a laugh. But also, like, they genuinely fucking mean it, and they wrote a genuinely really cool fucking section. Then there's A Little Is a Little Too Much, which similarly dabbles in 80s metal worship, but whereas Giants on the Run is heavily inspired and influenced by Judas Priest and Scorpions, A Little Is a Little Too Much feels more like early to mid-80s kind of Def Leppard, like that sweet spot when they're still technically new wave British heavy metal, but they haven't gone like full-blown pop metal with like Pour Some Sugar on Me and shit like that. Like that kind of like mid-paced driving rock riffage, the overall mixing and mastering of the cut as well, those guitar tones and those kind of like harmonized almost gang vocal style bits and pieces as well, and the more flashy kind of guitar parts, that is full-blown early mid-80s Def Leppard, with maybe a tiny little dash of Queensryche thrown in as well. Probably one of my favorite cuts on the record, honestly, as is This Is Tokyo, despite it going into extra cheesy, corny territory, combining the bombast and excess of like an epic power metal rager and a full-blown 80s power ballad. Definitely some very silly and theatrical shit kind of happening here. But you know what? The song itself, honestly pretty fun. Into the Sun is an interesting cut as well, more tender, more expressive moments. This song is very heavy on melodrama, driven primarily by keyboards and strings and, you know, or orchestral sections and sounds and such. You know, metal definitely takes a back seat here, but the result is something I think a little bit more lush, evocative, and still epic, just in a different kind of way. Parts of it reminds me of like moments where Iron Maiden goes more progressive while trying to do like a ballad type cut. And speaking of progressive, songs like Universe, Gravity for Hearts, and the album's closing number, Majestic, do a great job at bringing in more progressive rock and metal influences, more flashy guitars, different kinds of transitions and segments, and different kinds of vibes, all kind of meshing it together. It's a little bit more unpredictable and still provides you with all that satisfying power metal madness. And for those of you who just want pure, unfiltered power metal madness with no tricks, no diversions, no bullshit, don't worry, you're still gonna get exactly that via cuts like Savior of the World and We Can Be Gods. Fast-paced, flashy, big, epic, bold, shiny, pure power metal madness. There you go. Not really my cup of tea, but they are solid cuts. Kai, Andy, and Michael all sound great consistently across the album, but what's more impressive, honestly, is that they still work so well together. And it's clear that there's been a lot of conversation behind the scenes about what each person should do, when they should do it, why they should do it. It's very clear that they're not all trying to fight for the spotlight. There's no ego here. There's no bullshit. They all recognize each other's talents and they all utilize each other's talents very well. I still think that the self-titled album is a little bit better. It's certainly more triumphant and powerful, I would say, across the board. But this is still a very good album with a lot of very good moments. And I'm feeling a very enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5. I don't really see any reason why a long-time Helloween fan or even why a casual kind of heavy metal, power metal fan wouldn't enjoy this album. If you're anything like me and you've always been turned off by the more hyper, over-the-top, kind of bombastic, kind of power metal bullshit, then I think there's a lot about this album that will appeal to you as well when they're leaning further into like their classic hard rock, heavy metal influences. I really don't know how much longer this Pumpkins United era of Helloween is going to last, but I mean, if they continue to sound as energized and inspired as this, and if they continue to pump out quality albums like this, then I don't see any reason why it can't just continue indefinitely until Helloween themselves are fucking done. But hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, I'm still fucking with it. I'm still riding with it. Again, I'm not loving this as much as the self-titled, but it's still a damn good album, and you should still definitely check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I am not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Boom, other videos. Join us on Discord. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.